Okay, Duane, you are a prolific writer. So how can you classify yourself? A fiction writer, a chronicler of events, a realist, ideologist, or what? One is at a loss to categorize you. So can you help?
I don't put it into a category. Again, to make it simple, it would be reference it would be a reference material to the true reality, a specialized realism, but I don't want to go there. So again, it's simply, I just see it as reference, okay? And it's not going to become sacred doctrines or anything at any point, unless somebody, of course, somebody's going to take it and do that if they haven't already. Harry and Joanee like to copy my stuff because, they're in their own bubble and they only see so much, so they've got to take it from somebody else, just like many people took it from Paul, because people don't have the awareness, so they become copycats, which is okay. But what happens is then things become a little bit deformed from the original. Plus, is the awareness there? And if the awareness isn't there, then why would the boys back them, or why would life back them? Everything equals itself. So keeping it simple, the reference would be just I create references to the true reality life is, and that's all I can do. And speak and create and write references to it, because at a certain point, the individual, yes, you need the literal side. That's why you have two sides of your mind, literal and creative. And then you, after you've gone through that to a certain point, you need to do the creative side to bring that in, or at the same time, and then get to your intuitive body beyond that. So the creative side brings you around to that, but it's not going to do it for you. You need to gain insight. You need to gain the intuition and insight, and then finally learn to see your real awareness. So it's more defined. So that would be really the category. Reference to what is real now would be supposedly the category, Charles.
Yeah, Duane, I would like to think that you're everything. You're everything and nothing in particular. If one wants to look at you as a fictional writer, the characteristics are there. As a chronicler of events, on the real side, you are that. As a realist, a special kind of realism, you are that. As an ideologist, you are also that. So I want to think that you are just you're everything and nothing in particular. So that is what that is why I say one is at a loss to feed you into any category, because I think you are you're from working from this universal position, just everything. I don't know whether you have that view too.
Well, I kind of like different things, but I would play with things, something like realistic fantasy, because most people do not understand the idea of fantasy, which is more real than this. But they look at it as illusion, but it's not. And so it's that creative part of ourselves that makes contact with something that we don't know. And so I would say that. And again, this is why I looked at as to what, when I created something here to relate to, again, Paul used the word ekankar because that was already there. That's the old meaning. That word meant co-worker with God. So again, Paul used things that people could relate to that were already there. Well, I created the new presentation because I saw it with what life is doing. See, life can only present itself. You know, like the sun shining. It can only present itself. You see, it's not categorized, it's not this or that, it's not spiritual, it's not religion, it's not education. But we utilize these ideas. That's the difference. See, we're not used by the ideas, we're not held down by them, but our reference is something that is unseen and unique and wonderful, but you got to see it. And so that's how I see it. That's what I like. But I'll use all these different ideas, yeah, accordingly. And so to establish something, yes, we need to use the new presentation foundation. We use the worldwide educators, the universal university, the new school, etc. We utilize these ideas as vehicles. You know, it's kind of like a fisherman using different ways to attract the fish. You know, different hooks, you might say, or different worms on the hook, or little glowy things, or whatever it is. Basically, all the same books, 1 through 8. But what I did is I gave different introductions to them, and because many times people will buy a book or they will get into that book because of the title, and that sticks with them, just like a movie. And when you see a movie, there's basically just one idea running through it, but there's a lot of particulars, you see. So we have one idea here, and that is, this is a new presentation to the true reality life is, instead of the old ways of trying to figure it out and getting kind of encumbered with sound good stuff that really doesn't do it. And so that's what we're really doing. So this is the fun part, and taking that bigger leap into the unknown. That's the part I like, is looking into the unknown. I don't look to my mind for anything. I look to the unknown, and I see what is possible and how to phrase it according to what is taking place here. So that's the fun part. So yes, I enjoy doing this to keep myself busy, and at the same time moving along with the projects. I see that's very important, because people like to keep busy. You don't want to just sit around and meditate and just, you know, just grow herbs and think healthy. Well, that's cute, but there's more to things than that. And so, you know, each person makes a choice. So we are the new presentation with no category, but we play with the categories. You see, Charles? And we create new categories that bother others. So that's good.
Yeah, Duane, I can see that clearly. You've just made a statement that Joanee of the corporation, they are, you use a popular social term, they are kind of plagiarizing what you are presenting. I'm really curious to know how they are presenting this, Duane, because it seems like a lot of advertisement is being made of the new presentation. So can you give us an idea? I'm really curious to know what they are stealing from here and how they are presenting it. I can't figure out.
Well, they're not plagiarizing. She's not plagiarizing like many people are stealing it. No, there's no such thing. We're all using these ideas. It's just a use factor, and it's fine. Realistically, Joanee doesn't know what she's doing here, and while she's here, she doesn't know what she's doing. And so, again, it's more than obvious. You know, she took over the corporation. She's good at takeovers and subjecting people to her will and taplining. I mean, she's good at that. She's a professional because she gets paid for it, because the membership gives her whatever they want. But no, she's not plagiarizing or stealing anything, because everybody here we're just circulating these words. And so this is where I have fun making up my own words or putting words together, so that it's a kind of a unique position to where you have to figure that out. Okay. So in other words, if someone just says soul or God, you've already basically got your idea. Oh, I know what soul is. Oh, I know what God is. See, that's it. That's the personal self. But when you bring up something else, like the true reality life is, the all is, it's like, well, what is that? But most people will take that according to their personal self and say, well, Duane's just, that's his reference for another God, you see. So again, and usually it's taken in content like that, but realistically, it is to where you are to learn to recognize what is being presented. And until you do, no, you don't know. So again, in reference to Joanee, no, she doesn't know what she's doing here. She's just going through the motions like most people. They're just going through the motions, like the governments and the systems that have been created here, the religions. They're just going through the motions. They don't know what they're doing here because they don't have the awareness to see it. If they did, they would step up and we'd all support this reality that is, but you got to learn to see it. So there's a bigger view for you right there. Yeah, these people that you think they know what they're doing, these are the know-it-alls. And that's why the world is in the huge demise and the black holes are getting closer, within this galaxy and whatever. They're right in the center because of the consciousness of people that don't know what they're doing here. So we're trying to wake them up, and it's all about awareness, your real awareness. Yes, and people are aware they're here. It's like, oh, gee, I'm aware. But no, it's about your real awareness. You're aware of your personal self and all the ideas you carry and the likes and dislikes. Well, have fun with that. The end result is you'll just come back here. You'll just grow old again until you see more. And so again, we're in a funny place here, aren't we, Charles? And hey, Joanee can have everything. It won't matter because I can always do better. That's the adventure right there. And she doesn't even know what to do with what she gets from me or others because again, that's just how it is. She'll take the words and ideas, but she don't have the awareness to apply it. And even if she does, it's all about her and control. So that comes first. So this is where, just like what Paul presented, it's become what it has. It's all tap lined by reptilians, and they fill that temple up and down and underneath and whatever. If there's any light there, it's really dim. There's a little knowledge there, yes. It's a little dim light of knowledge, but it's not the real light of life. There's a big difference. And so that's your real awareness. So we're on a heck of an adventure here, aren't we?
Yeah, then. So we should not be surprised that soon we see various names for God, and the allies will be one, since it seems very cool to them. Say the various names for God, the allies, the Sukmad, the this and that. So, like you said, they are stealing these words and ideas. So, one day we'll just see it, another name for God, the allies, as you said, very certain. Okay, Duane, I was just going through, I was on Facebook this afternoon, and I saw somebody made a collection of all some of the what I call the masters that Paul Tuchel mentioned. So many of them. I just looked at the lists. The list was so long, and I begin to ask, Duane, where do you stand with all these people mentioned?
Is that it, Charles? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm somewhere, just like you. We're all somewhere. So we're all in the same life. And again, these are ideas. And, I don't know all the boys. And I don't go by names. I go by awareness, and so that's what I relate to. But of course, we know Revizar and Paul and Gopal and Fubi and many of them, of course, and they become familiar. But I see all this as awareness. This is the endlessness. The real universe is of awareness, to where there's no definition. And Paul in the Tiger's Fang, he gave a lot of description, because again, this was people needed this. This is, and you can see what's happened with all this. It's all become literal. The higher, the lower worlds, etc. That only exists in creation. Higher and lower. There's no higher and lower. There's no in and out. But we do refer to the real side. This gives people a little bit of idea of separation, to kind of look at something, at their life and their experiences and what's going on a little bit different. But realistically, overall, it's an isness, and this is why I didn't give a lot of description to the real universes, because there's not. But yet at the same time, anything you want is there. But when you have the real awareness with the is, you don't want anything, because you have an actuality of everything, but it's not according to the personal self. So the personal self has things accordingly. So yes, again, ideas, Charles, ideas that we're dealing with. So and this is where each person decides how they're going to see this. And really, the reality of life exposes itself to the individual, to where they can become more aware. And it's in the doing with what is taking place now, more so than your personal ideas of what you think are so. So, yes, it's a real challenge to do that. So, was there more to that question?
No, Duane, that's all about it. But what has caught my attention is the fact that in all this multiplicity of names and all the like, you've made a statement that stands out, that has struck me like a bolt of a sledgehammer. That you relate with awareness and not names. Yeah, that sums it all, because actually we are dealing with the real awareness. And well, these masters or real guides that Paul Churchill mentioned, you may not identify them by their names or anything, but in real awareness, you are with all of them. So that is the statement that has really struck me. So thank you for that answer.
Again, like anything that's been created here, and we look at that too, because it's more, closer to what we're doing, etc. But these ideas, these people, etc. Paul built that up for a particular. Okay, I didn't really do that with the books, because that had already been done, just like all the things that Paul wrote about, and especially like the 5 passions of the mind and all these things that Paul wrote. That's already been done. We've already been through that, and I didn't want to drag people through that process again. So I wrote about the experiences that I saw would more so relate to getting on, moving along the trail, so to speak. Okay, so it's like when the old pioneers came from the East Coast to the West Coast, they left the East Coast behind. And these ideas that look so important, to the personal self, really aren't, because in the real universes, which is here now, and recognizing that with what you're doing in creation accordingly, it's an isness. And you can say that these individuals, because of their awareness, they're like shafts of light. That's really all we are, and we can identify ourselves anyway. So again, yes, this personal side gets confusing. We have that side, but see it for what it really is. And just like our parents, as we grow up with them, as we do our life and we move away from the family idea and they pass on, let them go. They're on their journey. It's not what people think. And it's not genealogy and heritage and all these things. These are ideas. But to emotionally cling to these ideas, etc., and proclaim them as such, no, because life is always now. What is it right now? But you've got to see that. And so those who have collected what has been created, that's as far as their awareness goes until they learn to see more and utilize their real awareness with the references that they've come to know. There is a difference.